Welcome to KYC Media News. We bring you the greatest and most up-to-date news of the day, and we invite you to stay tuned. The EU is postponing an unavoidable debate. The EU chiefs assembled in Brussels this week guilefully evaded the inquiry. Energy has been working for the EU to change the deals that administer how it tracks down settlement on all that from funds to international strategy. What's more, as EU pioneers buy in by promise to end long periods of stagnation on allowing in new individuals, a synchronous contention has emerged. The coalition can't extend without first improving its own ordinances. At the core of the discussion is the EU's unanimity rule, which gives individuals blackball control over everything from which nations become EU individuals to what approvals are supported. More nations in the EU implies more potential denials. Also, since Russia began barraging Ukraine, the EU has intensely perceived how one nation, for this situation, Hungary, can hold up choices for a really long time after almost every other person has jumped aboard. A portion of the EU's most impressive pioneers support settlement change to fluctuating degrees, including French President Emmanuel Macron, Italian Prime Minister Mario Draghi and German Chancellor Olaf Scholz. Furthermore, in fact, the lawful way to settlement change began recently, putting it all the more officially on the table without precedent for over 10 years. So as a few EU competitors gradually walk toward participation, the coalition will ultimately need to face its own principles. Scholz has said exactly that. Furthermore, after pioneers made Ukraine and Moldova EU applicants this week, while additionally pushing to unblock the Bulgarian rejection, actually keeping North Macedonia and other Western Balkan up-and-comers out of the club, that walk is just advancing. The future enrollments oblige us to pose ourselves the inquiry about the necessities of up-and-comer nations, yet the necessities of the actual EU, and its ability to work later on in an extended Europe, which will require a change of those dynamic cycles, said an authority from France's official Élysée Palace. On Friday, Scholz concurred, addressing journalists after the pioneers' two-day highest point. The current and undeniable cycle of the EU deals traces all the way back to 2009, quite a while after a series of forceful toward the East development that saw 12 new individuals join. The arrangements are basically the EU's constitution, portraying out the coalition's establishments, explaining the breakdown of abilities between the EU and its individuals, and it are gone with to frame how choices. Since the EU's establishing during the 1950s, they have been amended a few times as the body transforms and develops. Re-established conversations on revamping the EU's guidelines heightened when the COVID pandemic held onto the continent. The EU cancelled severe spending plan rules to safeguard a floundering economy and moved to buy immunizations, featuring the coalition's changing powers by and large. Russia's conflict in Ukraine just gave more fuel to those conversations, as the EU was gone up against with its failure to move as quickly as individual nations to endorse financial authorizations pointed toward devastating the Kremlin's reserve. In equal, the EU in 2021 likewise sent off a meeting on the future of Europe, an 8 drawn-out self-reflection gathering that requested that residents express impressions on updating the global establishment. The drive brought about many thoughts that were reduced into 49 recommendations. Some of them, like canceling unanimity prerequisites or giving the EU a more noteworthy job in medical services strategy, would expect modifications to the EU's deals. A conversation on the gathering's results was added to the current week's European Council highest point plan, raising the possibility that pioneers might stand up to the possibility of settlement change while lounging around the table. Adding further tension, the European Parliament predominantly endorsed a goal in front of the culmination, begging EU pioneers to move towards settlement change, gathering in European Convention to examine the matter. The EU's own chief arm, the European Commission, additionally urged pioneers to strip the unanimity necessity for international strategy choices. All things considered, the 27 EU pioneers drop-kicked. In the Council's decisions, chiefs enigmatically called for successful development to the gathering and essentially certified that the endeavor had been a productive activity of popularity-based examination. The words deal change never graced the articulation. Macron, who started the meeting, additionally showed relative restriction on the issue during his public interview following the culmination. He urged his associates to seize on the significant changes the gathering suggested and vowed that pioneers would continue to figure out on the problem. negotiators rushed to take note of that the vast majority of the meeting's thoughts could be executed with practically no critical rule changes. The underlying focal point of this council ought to be on what we can do, ensure we do them and tell residents we are doing them, said one EU negotiator. One of the primary focal points of this meeting is that, evidently, we make a horrible showing with making sense of how the EU treats residents. There are different variables impacting everything, also. With war consuming in Ukraine, EU pioneers are leaning toward solidarity, particularly this week while giving Ukraine a confidence support by naming it an EU competitor. However, precisely Ukraine's conceivable increase will probably drive the EU to address deal change, as the country's EU goals assist with restoring other nations' offers. Pioneers like Germany's Scholz have said the EU should change before it will be equipped for taking on new individuals. Specifically, Scholz and others have highlighted the agreement required for any international strategy moves, which has driven individual nations to hold up everything from pivotal assents to fundamental articulations. Over in the European Parliament, individuals are likewise now making a bunch of propositions to change the settlements. They will ultimately send those to the 27 heads of state or government for endorsement at the European Council. This is a noteworthy snapshot of chance, said Sven Simon, the German MEP filling in as one of the Parliament's go-to-person on the issue. The arrangement is from 2009 and the EU went through many emergencies from that point forward, he noted. For those looking for changes, in any case, there's a chilly reality that is standing by, it's hard, and numerous nations have one or two doubts. Changing the EU deals is a long and drawn-out process. Also, areas of the continent feel there is compelling reason need to begin it now, while the EU faces various emergencies. To start with, there's the strategic part. The underlying stage is possible. EU pioneers can meet the European Convention, which would unite individuals from public parliaments, as well as heads of state and government, to examine correction proposition with a basic larger part vote. From that point, it gets more confounded. Under the customary strategy, any genuine amendments would require agreement support from all EU nations. What's more, eliminating unanimity or any choices will shake the EU's more modest individuals, which realize their rejection power gives them much-wanted clout in a body frequently coordinated by France and Germany. Second, there's the political aspect. In May, 13 nations, including Sweden, Denmark and Poland, clarified they considered any settlement changes untimely, contending it would just divert the coalition from additional major problems. It isn't the second to examine deal change in the conflict in Ukraine, a negotiator from one of those nations said. A ton of things should be possible without deal change. Another EU ambassador commented, "We as a whole realize settlement change won't occur very soon, so we should not race into those things when everything around us is evolving." Some have communicated dread that the discussion could really destroy the association, which has proactively lost a significant part, the United Kingdom, to EU wariness and can battle to persuade residents regarding its advantages. Would such a move distance part states, subsequently planting future difference that could prompt the EU's breaking down, another EU negotiator pondered. Taking into account that the EU is definitely not a government state, however an assortment of sovereign states, could the EU be moving to a bureaucratic model? If indeed, how are we to accommodate the different interests? Eventually, nonetheless, the discussion will be undeniable. In my view, an EU official said, an alter in the EU's perspective-making cycle will be on the table the day expansion comes close.